Welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker and Chaz Price. ARHQ.com is the website. The phone number, 419-794-3030. Guys, I've heard people say that 60 is the new 40, but in the retirement world, the number that keeps coming up is 59 and a half. Let's talk about that. Why is 59 and a half so important with retirement, specifically with your 401k?
Well, there are so many different numbers to pay attention to in ages when you reach different milestones. In a 401k, 59 and a half becomes so important because what is called an age-based in-service withdrawal. So for those of you that are listening, maybe if you have a 401k, you're not really happy with what your investment choices are. Your plan has the potential where at 59 and a half, what you could do is you have the ability where you could take that money and you could transfer it out over to a self-directed IRA. Within a self-directed IRA, really, the sky's the limits on what your investment choices are. I mean, you could put it into a higher interest FDIC-insured bank CD than maybe what you were getting in the money market account at your 401k at work. You could put it into a vehicle that provided more predictable income for you. You could go out and you could buy a basket of your favorite stocks, or you could work with a financial professional, to really tailor and customize an approach for you. And Chaz, you did a section earlier today where we had talked about the risk of somebody close to or in retirement times of what's called sequence of returns. Mm-hmm. It's been oftentimes my experience that a lot of people will come into the office and they do a set it and forget it type of an approach with their 401k, meaning that the investment allocation really hasn't changed much over the years, if anything at all. The other big group that I see are people that have money invested in what is called a target date retirement account. So the philosophy is you pick a target date of when you're going to retire, and the investment allocation typically changes more from equities to bonds or more fixed income as you get closer to retirement time. Well, as we saw in 2022, that approach really did not work for a lot of investors because you had the bond market had one of the worst years on record. In addition to the stock market was down double digits. So people took a 1-2 punch in some of those target date funds. And, if their goal was to retire this year after losing significant amount of money last year, they don't have maybe the ability to do what they thought they were going to do after those declines happened. So again, for those of you who are 59 and a half, we really need to have a conversation about your 401k and is it the right approach for your situation? It actually can be. There's a lot of great 401ks that are out there too. So you have choices, and this is now a time where you want to reevaluate your 401k. You want to reevaluate what your choices are and make a choice that's based upon whatever is in your best interest to accomplish your personalized goals and objectives. That's, to me, Chaz, why 59 and a half is so important.
Yeah, 59 and a half is a big date. Kind of piggybacking on what you said about 401k and the industry in general, one of the rubs that I have with the 401k is that the fees are not transparent normally. And I'm sure the information exists somewhere. You are able to find it somewhere, but it's very difficult if you want to go, diving through a 600-page phone book and looking for, information that's about as fun as it is looking through a prospectus in the 401k and trying to find out, what you're paying for things. But there are some significant advantages, I think, to an in-service withdrawal. I mean, one of them on the surface level is you're going to have access to the money a little bit more seamlessly. Gives you a lot more flexibility in the case that if you need some cash for emergency or maybe just a little bit of a bridge. I see it often where clients are maybe selling one house, buying another, and they need a little bit of cash to bridge that month or two time frame. You can do what's called is an indirect rollover, where once the money from your 401k is in an IRA, you can actually take a portion out, do what you need to do, and then let's say once the house sells and you can put the money back in, as long as that's within 60 days, generally there is no tax consequence. It's like it almost didn't happen. You can't do that all the time. You could do it once a year, but it is an option where you can get access to the money. Whereas in a 401k, you're pretty much limited to hardships, taking loans, and you're limited to the amount of money that you can borrow from your 401k generally. So again, not that it's a good thing to take from your retirement account, but it is more available, more easier to do from an IRA, in my perspective, than doing it from a 401k. You also, as you said, Nolan, you have the ability to diversify your investments. So again, if you're not satisfied with the investment options, you've got a lot of other choices. The other fact is that in your 401k, those investment choices, one, are usually pretty limited. You'd be lucky if you had, and I'm not talking about the target date funds, but maybe 5 to 6, maybe at the most 10 different funds that have some specialized investment acumen or something like that, where they're going to allow you to specialize in some of the categories, like technology, for instance. One of the hottest sectors in the last couple of years. Generally can't buy it in your 401k. You're limited to more of the index, kind of the investments that are for the masses. Those accounts are really designed to kind of CYA and protect the ownership and the managers and the plan sponsors, because ultimately they're on the hook, and so they want to make sure that you can't hurt yourself too bad. So you're going to have a lot less options. You're not going to be able to diversify. You certainly, at least at this point, you won't be able to buy annuities or anything that offer you any principal guarantees. And I say that because bonds, as you know, Nolan, in 2022 were down 15 to 20%. So imagine the most conservative, retirees getting ready to retire the next year or so, did the right thing, listen to our show, put money into bonds, yet they lost 15% and had to wait to retire. Not that we could foresee that, but still having other options that we know going into it, we're not going to lose on this bucket of money, could make a lot of sense for some individuals. And then also, from a tax perspective. So we talked about in previous shows some of the rules now with 401ks where they're requiring your catch-up contributions need to go into Roths, and being a little bit more savvy with tax, tax distributions and things like that. Whereas, with an IRA, you can, do an in-service rollover, roll that money into an IRA, and then start actively planning for your tax management strategy. Meaning, are we going to use a systematic approach where by the time you turn 73, we have all this money in a Roth now, and so we're in a tax-free position. We've kicked Uncle Sam out of our, off of our account. It's a individual account now. It's not a joint account with Uncle Sam, like I like to joke around. You're in a tax-free bucket. Well, in your 401k, if you don't start making changes, if you even have the ability to invest into a Roth, that's a joint account with Uncle Sam, and he's going to want his cut as well. So you're more, you have much more ability to plan and to reduce and offset taxes, in my opinion, in an individual account than you do a 401k. It's not to say they don't come with disadvantages. There are some benefits that you could lose as a result of rolling over a 401k, doing an in-service rollover. And in some cases, the employer-sponsored plans have some protections from creditors and bankruptcies. But ultimately, you definitely want to consult with the financial professional to evaluate those options, because there could be some consequences, but there are a lot of opportunities for doing an in-service rollover of your 401k to an IRA.
Obviously, any money saved towards your retirement is a good thing, but there are ways perhaps to make your money work harder for you, work smarter for you, and especially as you are approaching that age 59 and a half, very important age when it comes to your retirement, because it gives you a little bit more control over those accounts to weigh the pros and cons and see how to make that, in fact, work harder and smarter for you. The team at America's Retirement Headquarters, they can help you out with that. You just have to give a call and schedule a time to speak with them and see what's going to work best for you. 419-794-3030. Or go on to arhq.com.